Earlier this week, Tony Blair said that religion should have a bigger role in public life and that it could provide the answer to the world's conflicts. I believe next week he's going to give another lecture about how to put out a fire by throwing petrol on it. Mr. Blair's yet to understand that religion is a problem, not the answer. He also made the point that by embracing religious values, the world could get itself out of its present financial crisis. The Archbishop of Canterbury made a similar claim, saying that maybe Sharia finance had the solution to the financial meltdown. Maybe bankers ought to embrace Sharia financing, he said. It all sounds pretty harmless. What difference does it make if anybody wants to run the banks on Sharia principles? That's what morality is all about, isn't it? But in order for such a scheme to work, other elements of Sharia would have to be embraced. That morality does not exist in a vacuum. And so slowly and surely the concept of Sharia slips into everyday life. A bit of Sharia banking here, a bit of Sharia arbitration there. What harm could it do? If people want it, why can't they have it? The reason they shouldn't be able to have it is because we already have a legal system in this country that has been developed over hundreds of years and is now tempered by the Human Rights Act. It treats everyone in this country equally and fairly. We do not need another legal system running in parallel. It doesn't matter what arguments the theocrats make. We have a legal system that is based on democracy, and it can change with changing circumstances. Sharia cannot. It is based on divine revelation. How on earth can it be wrong? How can it be improved if it's perfect in the Word of God? Even to suggest that Sharia is imperfect or unjust is enough to get you sent to prison in some countries. We don't need it here. It's undesirable, and as others have so eloquently said, it reduces women to second-class status. We have a secular legal system, and it must remain secular. When religious doctrine dictates the law becomes tyrannical. Sharia creep is a term that I don't like to use, but it seems highly appropriate for what is happening in this country. We must stop it in its tracks, and now. Thanks.
Thank you. That was Terry Sanderson, the president of the National Secular Society. The next speaker is Fariborz Pooya from Iran Secular Society. Please welcome Fariborz.
Thank you, everybody. I want to use this opportunity to respond to Hazel Bliers, who last week spoke at the London School of Economics, setting out the policy of the British government, the Labour government, in dealing with the Islamic movement as a whole. She said, and the crux of her speech is, if you want community cohesion, you have to provide platform for the section of the Islamic movement in Britain and isolate the extremist section. That's the crux of government policy in Britain. We think this is wrong. They want to start teaching mullahs, Sharia judges to be able to speak English and impose the barbaric Islamic law in a supposedly modern way. We think that the British government policy is totally misguided, and it actually supports the growth of the Islamic movement. We can have the legal arguments, and we do have plenty of legal arguments against the Sharia law and imposition of unequal rights in Britain. But we also have to remember, this is just a tip of a greater movement that is actually clear in its objective to bring all of Sharia system into British public life. And introduction of Sharia law in civil matters, supposedly, would be limited only to civil matters. That's not the case. We are not going to be fooled by these arguments. We know that is a bigger movement. We get upset if Sharia law in northern territories in Pakistan is introduced. And everybody says this is betrayal of human rights, betrayal of women and children in Pakistan. But we welcome them somehow in this country. It's exactly the same. Actually, bringing and supporting Sharia law in this country is betrayal of thousands upon thousands of women and children in the communities, so-called Muslim communities. We define people in these terms to actually give them, to pass them on to the mullahs, the very minority reactionary mullahs and Islamists. The people who actually plant bombs, who was speaking in the big question on the other Saturday? The guy was a thug in East London. Now he's actually reformed himself and relabeled himself as a Sharia judge. The guy is part of an Al-Muhajirun group who's been banned in this country, is actually now a Sharia judge. Do we want to leave women and children and millions, thousands of people in this country at the mercy of the Islamists? We say no to Sharia law because we want to defend everybody in this country. Everybody, in particular, women and children. And Sharia law in Britain removed the whole of the campaign. Our government must change its policy. And I think we all here to say we are not going to stop until the Sharia law is totally abolished. It's possible, it happened in Canada, and we want to follow that example. Thank you very much. Thank you, Fariborz.
Hi everybody, I want to tell you about the situation, women's situation in Iraq. And first, in the West, millions of women are now under the threat of discrimination and sexual abuse. In those countries, and because of multiculturalism, they passed the most anti-woman laws. We have all witnessed in Europe, the USA and Canada, the killing of women under the pretext of honor. There are many examples. In Sweden, Fatima and Tela was killed. In Canada, Aksa Perez, a girl in her 16, was killed by her father because Aksa wanted to take off her hijab and wear modern clothes like many children her age. Same tragedy are committed in many other civilized countries. 5 years ago, the Islamists were busy trying to establish Sharia court in Canada. Fortunately, through the activities of communists and scholars, their attempt was defeated. They failed because we stood up against it. In Iraq, women have been turned into victims of war, one after another, especially the war of USA, which was a case for bringing tens of religionists and nationalist groups. The war killing, kidnapping, and ethnic sectarian conflicts have caused the loss of basic rights, the spread of unemployment, poverty, deprivation of education. In Iraqi Kurdistan, women are being insulted under the rule of nationalist parties just because they demand their basic rights. This is exactly what happened to Dua Halil in Badiran and Fenik in Kaladiza. This is just a drop in the sea of crimes which is committed against women in Iraqi Kurdistan. Thank you so much.